This is the traffic pattern and flow of vehicles that engineers envisioned years ago when they first proposed realigning the roads leading into and out of Apponaug, traditionally one of the most congested areas in Rhode Island. With the progress, though, came a lot of pain. For nearly 3 years, his drivers sat through construction delays and were reintroduced to the rotary, something that had been phased out in Rhode Island more than a generation ago.
There's a learning curve involved in these when you place this kind of alternate new traffic pattern in a community. Yeah.
DOT Director Peter Alviti had preached patience a year ago when the Hummel Report found there were 101 accidents during the 6 months after the initial phase of the new traffic pattern had been opened in the fall of 2016. We went back and measured the same period a year later. Warwick Police reported that the number of accidents had been reduced to 38 over those same 6 months. A sign, Alviti said, that drivers are gradually getting accustomed to navigating the circulator.
And I think we're seeing the results of that. Everything is trending now toward that reduction. There is a reduction in serious accidents. In fact, not only from last year, but even to pre-construction conditions when all of the red lights were there. The roundabouts allow for a continuous flow. It's not a lot of stop and go. While there's some queuing and slowdown, that helps mitigate the accidents that would happen at those intersections. And it recreates the angles that accidents happen at to a less severe kind of angle.
The project had already broken ground when Alviti arrived as DOT director in 2015. But he agreed with what the plan was trying to accomplish, despite a public that at times was skeptical.
When you came in and you looked at what they were proposing, what did you think of as an engineer?
It was an ambitious project for a small, very highly compact area like that, but as an engineer, I quickly saw through the studies and the indications that we got from engineers. Being an engineer, I trusted in their judgment, and I could see the logic in the science behind creating the roundabouts as opposed to the intersections that were there.
A review of accident reports from the past 6 months shows 2 themes: lane confusion and drivers failing to yield when they are supposed to. The rule of thumb for drivers entering a rotary is to yield to those already in it.
All those circulators have provided viable options for people to bypass the Apponaug village, which to me was just a huge choke point.
Warwick Police Chief Stephen McCartney has had a front row seat for the construction the past 3 years. And for 15 years before that, saw the accidents and congestion as northbound and westbound motorists were funneled along Post Road in front of City Hall.
Initially, there was a lot of people complaining about it, but I think once again, looking at the bigger picture here, what was accomplished by this project? I think it has given motorists here more options to get around into the city of Warwick.
McCartney said the main problem now is many drivers still don't know how to negotiate a rotary.
Well, every once in a while you see people that are inside the rotary and they stop when they think somebody is coming right up to it. And clearly, most of the time they're elderly people who are going to be naturally very nervous going through that circulator to begin with.
Rob Cody, a leading critic of the project, lives a mile from the circulator and travels through it several times a day. We interviewed him a year ago and went back last week to get his reaction now that the project is finished. Cody said it is a good sign that the number of accidents has decreased, but his main complaint is that there are too many signs and that drivers are bombarded with multiple messages in a short period of time as they approach Apponaug from any direction. The DOT, it turns out, agrees.
People tell me there's a lot of signs.
Yes.
And if you're not familiar with the area, it's a lot to absorb as you go in. So talk to me about signs versus making quick decisions.
Yeah, so we agree with that. I agree with it. One of the observations I've made is that the signage that's out there can be a bit confusing. There is too much of it. So what we're doing is a kind of a streamlining of the signage.
Alviti said over the next 2 months, the department will take down some of the existing signs and replace them with clearer ones like these.
And we'll be putting back fewer signs, but ones that are more descriptive of what you need to know when you're approaching a roundabout. That is, to be able to anticipate and know beforehand, before you get to the roundabout, exactly what turnoff is going to put you where you want to go. That's the key, right? And I think some of the confusion that we've experienced in the last year going through that, and I myself, will get through the first one and the second one, but by the third one, sometimes you can get a little disoriented, particularly with the number of signs that are out there.
Many of the businesses we spoke with say the traffic is much better, but drivers had a more mixed reaction, saying some other drivers often don't know or don't adhere to the rules of the road. Alviti is hoping better signage will help.
Many times with traffic patterns, we need to go back as engineers and revisit what the effect of, for example, in this case, the signage was, and what we can do to improve on that.
To go through that conditioned response period of time in terms of your driving to get used to understanding exactly what were the rules of the road going into the circulator and who had the right of way and who had to yield. But I think slowly but surely motorists are starting to get it.
In Apponaug, Jim Hummel for the Hummel Report.